All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is up, and welcome back to the Pride Cup 2021. This is our third game of the day, my third of many, but I'm joined once again here by TerranLord. Welcome back.
Thank you. Again, really excited to see these games, and I think these are two teams that there's quite a few players where we haven't really seen some of them, so interested to see how they fit in.
Yeah, and why don't we take a look at how exactly they fit in? Let's get a little peek at the groups here and just see what exactly we're dealing with here. So this matchup is between Zwoomicorns and Onetrix. Now, if you direct your attention to Group A and then you scroll your eyes from top to bottom, you will reach the bottom before you reach both of these teams. And unfortunately, they've had a bit of a difficult time. But at this stage in the group stage, the difference between the sort of third place and fourth place is only one match. So Zwoomicorns and Onetrix have yet to take a victory, and the winner of this is probably likely to go through in third and fourth, but loser of this might just end up eliminated. When we're taking a look at the kind of squads we're seeing here, might be surprised to see whose heads might be on the chopping block. Sorry, okay. Yeah, let's take a look at our first team here, which is Zwoomicorns. As you might expect, given the name of the team, main tank here is Zwoom, possibly the best main tank in South Africa. OG player, as in for the team OG. And then we've got the Zarian in off tank, Corpy and Skarzz. You should know by now Skarzz. Seen him already today in the casting booth alongside me on the DPS. And then we've got Lulubal, plays also for OG, and Antiablo also plays for OG. I think Lulubal is subbing in here for someone else, which is why we're getting quite the heavy OG presence here. But a couple of players we're not very familiar with here, Terran.
Yeah, they're different. I think the Zarian and Corpy, two names that haven't really seen play at all. Like Zarian, I think we've seen a couple times in the Kazda streams itself, but not actually playing in them. So interesting to see how they do. Skarzz also obviously someone who we all know, production, casting, playing as well, but not really getting as much like limelight in terms of playing in those caster games.
Yeah.
Whereas then you've got your more experienced players, Zwoom, Lulubal, and Antiablo. I'm kind of interested to see how Antiablo does on like the flex support role, where it looks to be, because we know him as that hit scan, especially playing Tracer. So it's going to be a different role for him.
Yeah, very, very different. But as we mentioned a couple of times in the past, flex support and DPS really are the two roles that switch the most commonly. So he shouldn't be too out of sorts on that role, but it doesn't mean we won't get to see him play alongside Zwoom like we do when they play for OG. So always unfortunate to see that, but I'm excited to see if he can live up to the likes of, like a Luke and Squishy as other top tier DPS players who switch to flex support. Of course, not training in this role, so it's not quite a like-to-like comparison, but still will be interesting to see. We take a look at the other side here. Their opponents, Onetrix, a few standout names here. We've got Amali and Rail on the tanks. Amali, of course, of the Beastie Boys, occasionally gets subbed in. Usually plays off tank for them, I want to say. And then you've got Grant Hines, a name many of you should be familiar with, but within and outside of Overwatch. His second Pride Cup appearance. Last time, I believe, his team made it all the way to the grand finals. So he'll be hoping that they can turn their fortunes around and work their way through. Probably likely to play a lot of Ashen Widowmaker. That's kind of the extent of his hero pool, or at least it was a year ago. And then you've got Papa Deffect. If you've been watching casters there, you'll have seen a lot of Deffect, and now he gets his time to shine in game. And then we've of course got the Queen of Peel herself, Vertigo, not on her usual off tank, instead on the support. Where is her second most comfortable role, so she should feel pretty comfortable playing from there. And then we've got Cool Dressing on the other support role.
I think it's quite an interesting team. I think a lot of these players, even though you might know their name, haven't really had much experience. Obviously, Deffect, a lot of experience on the team, but been a while since he has been in the competitive scene. And back then he was a tank player, so it's a bit of a different role. But Vertigo, I think, even though not her main role, she has played this before in teams, back in DSC Divinity. So it's not something she's unaccustomed to. And I think Amali as well, who isn't exactly the most experienced player in teams, but from just the amount of Overwatch that he does play, I think he brings a lot of experience to the team in terms of understanding what he needs to bring. And then Rel and Cool Dressing, you're least experienced in terms of out of the two, but I still think pretty strong candidates as well.
I think Rel is on TMC, right? And I think, or at least used to play for JHM, which was what TMC was like 3 years ago. And Cool Dressing, I'm not sure, are they on a team?
I think Cool Dressing might also be on TMC.
Okay, that actually would make perfect sense. So some players with a little bit of competitive experience, but TMC definitely at the beginning of their sort of foray into competitive play in South Africa. So those are our two teams. We've seen where they stack up in the groups, and our first map will, of course, once again be LIJIANG Tower. We started on control center every single time. If we see that again here, we're probably expecting to see more of the brawl. We haven't seen much night market this evening, though. This evening, wow, not yet. Today, yet. And that's a kind of place where we can see a lot of different strategies come to bear.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the normal that you usually see is the sim strat, but there's a lot of teams who kind of play around that. Maybe play something like a Farah against some Junkrat or some May, where there's not that born and bred hit scan. You can also play like a Ryan Winston kind of Doomfist comp to just straight up counter the sim comp. You just hard engage onto, and then the Winston can deal with those turrets. You've seen that Reinhardt players have tended to struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Our first point, as we briefly caught a glimpse of there, is Gardens. Here we go, back. Or Garden, whichever one. Like one of them is Garden, one of them is Gardens on Oasis and LIJIANG Tower. I don't know what possessed Blizzard to give them identical names, but hey, that's where we are. We saw a little bit of success on the Farah, but this is now the map where compositions have been extremely varied and lots of different things have had lots of success.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like similar kind of dive comps, but kind of differences in like the DPS, maybe the supports as well. And we've already seen actually might not even see that dive mode looking to like it's going to be more of the dive versus brawl, which is kind of an interesting one for this map.
It's an interesting one, and that'll kind of set the tone for the series going forward. Whichever team gets momentum here, you feel like the opposing team is going to have to come up with a solution to, on a compositional level, almost as opposed to just a playstyle level. But we're going to have to wait and see here. Zwoomicorns get the better position here with their more aggressive composition on the point. Grant here taking just a bit of an off angle, firing through that little space as he looks to find some damage and get some kills. There's a Doomfist in play here for Corpy, so that could end up being a problem, but Zoom, one that drops first, not someone you expect to die early on, but unfortunately Deffect tracks him down and takes him out, and that puts Onetrix, in the driver's seat now. Israel follows up with a kill onto Lulu, while Deffect does his best JRV impression here by jumping off the map on the Tracer. Unfortunate for him, but he's not a DPS by trade, so not that unexpected to find him making mistakes, but so far so good for Onetrix.
Yeah, definitely, and especially Zoom going down early, you can imagine he's probably a big part of the calling structure, so losing him will hurt a lot for Zwoomicorns.
Oh, big shadow from Amali here. Managed to charge that one up super quickly and gets an excellent execution there to get a triple, make that a quad kill now. Zoom comes back in with a quickly charged Primal Rage, but I think he rather might wish, the Pulse Bomb as well, and he takes Corpy with him. Come on, guys, let's reset as Deffect picks up the double.
Yeah, there was a bit of an interesting choice there coming out from Zwoomicorns. They kind of went in a bit staggered into that fight, were able to get the 6-man fight, but by that time, Marley had built up the shadow, landed the big shadow. Zoom did get a lot of value though.
Zoom back in the mix here very quickly. I feel like that was a short spawn tide, but almost eats that up, but not able to do so, and instead the Grav will secure 4 kills here for the Zwoomicorns. They are getting absolutely hammered so far on LIJIANG Tower.
Yeah, and something you're not really expecting. A brawl, not your most common pick here. Dive, very much favored, but so far you're seeing great success on this brawl coming here. Marley built up to another shatter.
Oh, this could be big as well. No shield on the opposing side. Now with that bubble going down, Skarzz though opens things up, get the kill onto Vertigo, the Rage Quit Legacy DPS player, paying off for his team there. JellyDoodle fights back, gets the kill on the Zarian, apparently is how you pronounce that, Corpy, on the Doomfist, finding value, gets rid of Grant Hines, gonna go for the ultimate here, over the top, finds cool dressing as well, so Corpy finally starts to exert himself on this matchup, and that's going to help his team potentially recap here. Cleanup needs to come through though, and quickly Vertigo dropped, Deffect dropped, and that'll be the flip.
Yeah, definitely much better fight we're seeing from the Zwoomicorns there. The DPS, especially I think Skarzz and Corpy putting a lot of work in that fight, that it just helps Zwoom on that front line, because I think especially in the initial fight, Zwoom was kind of left alone.
Yeah. Kind of left in the lurch there. I think perhaps used to playing with the support lineup of OG and with the likes of Alvin and Auntie at his side, perhaps needs to kind of relearn what he can get away with here. Speaking of getting away, this is Ryan getting away from the edge of the map here. Zwoom has a primal rage at the ready here. That's Grant hides into the spawn. Zwoom sends cool dressing into the spawn now as well and bails out, but the Bob in Grant Hines' absence will contribute greatly to this team fight with its own double kill. Point now flips the other way. Onetrix in control. The shadow comes out onto the Zarian, trying to get him down. Instead, will turn onto Auntie here. A much bigger kill than the Diva, I think. With Corpy going down, it's going to be tough for the Zwoomicorns to fight back here with only 35% in the clock as well. They would have a lot of work to do, but Zwoom, the big carry, is back in the mix here. Pumping the damage in, he's got rid of Grant. Can he find anything else? No. Amadi tracks him down, takes him down with the big hammer. German engineering at its finest right there as he looks to clean it up for Onetrix. Only Auntie left, someone else on point, but these kills are going to come through a little bit quicker. I think they run the risk here of having the respawns come through from the Zwoomicorns as now they do. Meteor Strike comes in. Immortality Field needs to go down. He's waiting for it to get eliminated. Finally it goes down and he pops on top of cool dressing, but Amali out of nowhere just slams him into the wall, pancakes the poor Doomfist and gets rid of him. Zarai now follows up on rail. There's a shadow on the back line, but Zwoom sweeping the floor with the primal rage, now gets on top of Deffect, squashes him, sends someone off the map almost, it looks like. Yep, it was Grant Hines, finally dies and now gets to back up. And Zwoomicorns, very incredible job stabilizing there.
No, really good stall coming out, and they just stole enough time for Zwoom to get back, got that primal off, and it's kind of like a Zwoom deadlift at this point, how much work he's putting in. I think that's going to be their key to success. How can they follow up on what Zwoom is doing?
I absolutely agree. Oh, onto you though. The other carry on the squad, perhaps not from this role, but it's going to open things up here. Cloud's making a triple, baby. Okay. Relax, DPS Moira. He's going to pick up 3 for his team there. They have lost 2, so this fight is suddenly almost evened up, but this is Ryan with his ultimate and with the way that the heroes who have died. Oh no, Skarzz going down as well, so suddenly with the early deaths now coming back from respawn, they might be in a bit of trouble here, Zwoomicorns. If they can just stay alive though, their own spawns will come back and things will even out. Oh, he has to drop the ultimate there. Does this Orion, doesn't find anything, only the immortality field. Zwoom now rejoins the fight once again. Final range at the ready, the double remake kill from the Zarian. He gets the shot onto Amali as well, and Zwoomicorns have weathered the storm here, and they might actually take this one back after such an incredible start from Grant Hines and the rest of Onetrix. It looks like Zwoomicorns are just going to flip the script. Zwoom can pick a target here. There's someone else on point. He's going to focus on the window instead as Corpy now looks to take down this Lucio, punch up into the sky. The sound barrier keeping him healthy, but not how long will that last as Amali comes in here. Oh, double kill quickly, but a return. Corpy with a big double. The grab, not going to find anything there. Deffect slammed into a wall and sent to map 2.
And like it's a big important part is that as that map went on, we started to see that Zwoomicorns were following up on what Zwoom was doing. All that space that he was basically gifting the DPS, they took it full advantage of him. Even Auntie, getting that triple kill with the coalescence. It's really good to see. Sometimes you don't want to be seeing these heavy hitters, we call them, just kind of left in the lurch, doing their own thing, trying their best, and then not really getting the value because their team just struggles to follow up.
Yeah. And, this will be the 3rd match, I believe. No, Zwoomicorns have only played 1 match so far. But It takes a bit to get used to playing below your level or with teammates who aren't at your level. Of course, Zoom is a grandmaster player, so even when he's playing comp, he's used to teammates of a certain caliber, and getting used to teammates who aren't necessarily of that caliber takes a bit of getting used to. This is a fascinating view right there, trying to get rid of the teleporter. As Deffect has worked his way onto point here with that Symmetra along the rest of the team, and they start by taking down Corpy, but Zoom buys back straight away by taking down the opposing main tank, and that gives him free reign to do whatever he wants. Auntie putting out a ton of healing here. This is the kind of hero you think he'd get maximum value out of on this flex support role, and so far paying off dividends. But pretty even fight, but at the end of it all, Zwoomicorns get the better position to cap this first point, and it leaves these players here at the back in such an awkward spot. But on the front line, Skarzz gets traded out. Deffect will get that kill, and now Rail and the main tank Amali coming in to clean things up. So a great start from Zwoomicorns. Unfortunately, they can't stabilize on point, and the Onetrix will come back in here. Corpy booped off the map. Moira comes in, but will get taken down in the end.
Yeah, and then it was a really good start to that fight. You look at the comp differences, obviously the Widowmaker versus the Mei, more pick potential versus the zone of the Mei, and it ended up starting off really well, but they just kind of lost their structure towards the end of the fight, got picked off, and it just made it very easy for the Onetrix to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm looking at the squad and I just realized that Zwoomicorns, they do have Lulubal in there. Oh, big shadow over the top. Doesn't find anything on this occasion. Teleporter goes down. No, that's the barrier. As Zoom now will find it difficult to find value with this. Graviton Surge comes out. Not sure where. Behind Zoom here. He hops in to protect his team. Gets the 5 strike onto Cool Strike. Cool. Guys, there's a lot happening on screen here. These shields, the window, the Symmetra barrier. At the end of it all, though, it's blue in the kill feed, and it's Unicorns who retake the point.
Yeah, the map notorious for, you know, all these windows, barriers, everything happened, coalescence thrown in the mix. So, you know, not the best viewer experience sometimes with Overwatch, but I think overall, you know, Zwoomicorns better ult usage coming into that fight.
Yeah, it did seem that way. Now though, Grant Hines and Co coming back in here. The Widowmaker struggling to make an impact on this game, I think, as Lulubal finds the opening pick here on Deffect. Widow Symmetra seems like a hard comp to make work, and it is kind of working out that way. Ooh, Immortality Field keeping the team healthy there, but not for long, as the damage does come through. Once that Immortality Field goes down, Skarzz picks up a double, and now they can get aggressive. This is where you want to control a choke if you are Zwoomicorns. Deffect has not switched off the Sim onto the Reaper. Gonna try and maximize damage just a bit more.
Yeah, and also Grant Hines switching over from the Widowmaker to the McCree, I think is a much better choice here. Yeah. Struggling to get a lot of that value against a double shield team that's fighting on point, whereas you just lose out on that damage wall. You don't have that Mei for the zone, or just the pure damage from McCree.
Oh no, the shadow straight into the Mei wall, charges on through, but the Immortality Field will keep Auntie very healthy. Blizzard committed now as well, and this is about as clean a team fight as you could ever hope to get. Zwoomicorns will dominate Night Market here pretty much, and take the victory on LIJIANG Tower. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that block on the shadow, I think it's something that it's very rarely seen. Usually when it's shadow block, you're blocking your own Ryan shadow.
Exactly.
But this time, you know, Corpy doing a really good job of blocking a Marley shatter. I think something that he's been getting a lot of value out there. I mean, she is just a perfect example of that. But after, you know, that kind of first retake that Zwoomicorns got, they seemed to be in control. They knew what they needed to do, and they just executed it from there.
Yeah, and again, I wonder if the sort of DPS lineup that Onetrix were running, it's kind of, we talk about feast and famine when you run the double sniper, but that one also feels kind of feast and famine. We don't tend to think of the Symmetra as that kind of hero that's either going to pop off or do nothing, like in the same way a Widowmaker can. But it does feel like it either works or it doesn't, which is the most vapid comment I've ever made. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, if it's working, you're like, oh, it's incredible. But so often it just gets shut down by decent team play.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, and the one thing which makes Symmetra really strong, you look at DPS, like a Mei, a Junkrat, something to kind of anchor her down. So she's not, you know, the only one zoning off an area. Because when you think of Junkrat, pure damage just zones off. A Mei, her wall, her freeze, such good zoning. It allows for that Symmetra ready to ramp up in a fight, whereas Widowmaker doesn't help Symmetra with really anything besides for, you know, helping the entire team fight by getting picks. So it's not really, you know, playing around the sim, which a lot of these sim comps are. You know, it's why you tend to see teams run like the Ryan Orisa or Ryan Sigma, so you have that bit of extra shield, a nice buffer for that sim to really amp up in a fight. And a lot of the time, your teams winning fights with that Symmetra, even while losing both their tanks. I mean, I can remember a game of Slumpy a while back, I think it was between OG and Evo, where 3v6 fight, and all of a sudden Symmetra beam go brr, and the entire team is dead.
And Slumpy, that's a name. It feels like that was 100 years ago, but that was like literally just last year. Yeah, and an OG stalwart was Slumpy, so well represented here in this map. I remember the fallout from that being pretty fascinating from that match, but let's not get into that. As we move here on to EICHENWALDE once again. This is where momentum can shift though. Control point is its own beast. What works there might not get you the same results here on EICHENWALDE. So do you think, from what we saw out of Onetrix, do you think this map's going to suit them just a little bit better, or do you think Zwoomicorns has got a pretty confident outlook?
I think in terms of defense for Onetrix, I think it's going to definitely benefit them. Attack is going to be a bit rough, because I think they have got a pretty solid, you know, setup plan. You saw Deffect on that Torbjorn in the graphic beforehand, and having a small insider info playing against them, Deffect made really good use of that Torbjorn on defense, especially, you know, on EICHENWALDE and Route 66. So I would expect to see something similar. Obviously, on attack, the Torbjorn struggles to get a lot of value. It can't really set up the turret in those locations where it's difficult to get to. So I think it's going to be very dependent on how well Onetrix really approach this attack.
Yeah, I mean, that is very true. Guys, just a reminder, if you're interested in seeing some view inside what's happening with these teams, we've got streamers on both sides. Skarzz_gaming is obviously Skarzz streaming from the Zwoomicorns side, and Grant Hines is streaming just twitch.tv/Grant from the Onetrix side. So you'll get a bit of a sight into how these teams are feeling after each match, but obviously you've got to leave our cast here on the main screen because this is the main cast here. It's both teams now slamming into each other. Deffect found a pretty decent angle here, but not decent enough to protect him from the headshot from Skarzz. The Ryan now will pick up Vertigo as well. So Zwoomicorns in firm control of this team fight. Skarzz needs to watch his positioning. Yeah, let's get taken down, and spawn advantage clearly favors one team over the other here. But that May wall, very nicely played. Not for the first time. We've seen Corpy get the value as the Ryan asserts himself on whoever that was on the ground.
Yeah, and then that's the one thing. I mean, as a former May Onetrix, seeing a lot of May played and getting value out of it makes me really happy. These walls have been instrumental so far.
Yeah, they have absolutely been now as they come in once again here. A nice early window gets thrown down, but a big shatter. 2 on the ground here from Amali. They've picked up 3 now kills, and this point is pretty elementary. Mali can just close his eyes and swing his hammer and clean up the rest of the players, and Onetrix looking a little bit better here.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like the way they approach the fight here. Instead of taking that main rotation, not taking as much damage as you come in, not really allowing Skarzz to get that off angle like we saw he got initially, and then just pushing through that window, getting the shadow off.
Ooh, Pin now comes in, Zoom dropping low here, but the healing is good, and the fire strike. Get out of here, Deffect. Let's move on to the next team fight. This is Ryan now with the Graviton Surge at the ready, so this could be explosive for the Zwoomicorns, and they're gonna go around the back here. Are they expecting this? I don't imagine they are. The shadow comes down, the sleep isn't on, the mining is grab to follow, and this is pretty clean from the Zwoomicorns. That's a mean tank call right there, I think, TerranLord.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's something you're not expecting to see in these kind of tournaments. You're not expecting these big brain plays that maybe this has been practiced with. Zwooms obviously knows about this. You can see he's very well versed in it. May have done that in practice because I think this is one of the teams that actually scrimmed beforehand. So potentially, you know, something they have worked on.
Well, paying off here greatly for them as Corpy has the Blizzard up now. Wall goes down, grab comes in the back line, but they're going to counter that out with the Blizzard and the Immortality Field. Only Lulubao has dropped here for the blue team, although as I say that, now there's a couple of players. With the tanks down, I think you're pretty comfortable now inside of Onetrix, just forcing yourself forward, getting up the couple of kills here. Rail's been picking up a ton of kills in these team fights though.
Yeah, no, it's actually something that would be very interesting to look at. Both like the Zarya and Rail doing a lot of work on the Zarya, and at the same time, the main tanks between Zoom and Amali, you know, something you expect Zoom to completely dominate, but Amali really showing up, really putting him to the test and landing some really big shatters.
Yeah, his time on Beastie Boys, I think, paying off here. Learning under Uncle Riposte there, it seems like really is holding his own quite effectively here, but he does have a very experienced team at his back as well. So that might be helping him here. Grant, as you can see, has the Bob at the ready, just repositioning now. Probably going to throw that onto point and allow that to start pumping the damage in. Instead, we'll just keep backing. Not quite sure where he wants to be at this point, but now they're moving forward. A huge shatter comes down onto the front lines. Wu picks up a double with his fire strike. Rail will execute him before the charge executes Rail, but it's not going to be enough to help his team win this team fight.
Yeah.
Oh, nice shot from Skarzz.
That's the one that it's been like quite interesting to see the difference between and Anna and a Baptiste. Like in a lot of these situations where the team gets shattered, you know, with a Baptiste, you potentially have Immortality Field. And it just gives you that extra bit of sustainability, and you can actually get up from that shadow, whereas with the Ana, you don't have the extra bit of sustainability. Yeah,
especially if your anti-nade's already on cooldown. It sometimes comes with quite early shatter. Ambitious doesn't find anything here from Amali, but gets put down on his back now. Graviton Surge comes out, but it's not finding any value, at least not yet. Zoom does go down, so main tanks traded out here, and that's allowing cool dressings, yes, the Lucio to pump in the damage as Grant Hines tucks the Bob in as well. Deffect here has found a pretty sweet angle to pump damage in, but Skarzz will get him down. He's been getting the better of that trade over the last few team fights, in my opinion. As Rail can now move forward. The window has come out, and gonna look to track a nice movement from Auntie here. Damn, making a fool out of Rail here. He's gonna kill him as he goes back at the please leave me alone. I'm sorry. Auntie tracks him down, executes him, and that might force his team through here. Amali gets that. Oh, life saved as the Blizzard stops him in his tracks, and it's actually going to result in his untimely demise. And a very messy team fight ends, I think, with, Deffect just being a nuisance. He gets the stick, low HP, there's only a mini in the mix here, and he will get that kill onto Zwoom. A really nice play from Deffect as he asserts himself outside the spawn here of Onetrix, but eventually Auntie will avenge his main tank, and I think it's time to regroup. I guess not. Graviton Surge goes in as a big pickup here. What do I know? Rail once again coming in clutch for his team. Both the tanks of Onetrix really a key factor in their victories so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a very back and forth fight, a lot happening. I mean, Antiablo actually putting in so much work there.
Yeah.
Surviving the Zarya, keeping heals going, the damage, and it just made it impossible for Onetrix to really get a foothold in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Heinlein comes out now, speed boost as well to get him around the corner. Lots of damage, barrier destroyed, so Amali now on the back foot. They're getting rid of the flashbang, and that is huge. So much damage into that Graviton Surge. A kill cool dressing with the charge as well, and Zwoomicorns here just gonna stop the momentum completely. Grant? Yeah. Okay, got him.
Yeah, and it's a really good time to stop this momentum. Minute and a half on the clock. Going to be a very difficult, push for Onetrix here to get this within time. I mean, think about it, they have to win at least 2 fights, and most likely that's going to take up majority of this time, and losing 1 fight means that very likely looking at overtime cap.
Yeah, especially with how far up Zwoom is defending here. He's got the Earth Shatter at the ready. Amali almost at his. Neither Zarya anywhere near Graviton Surge's Pulse Bomb. Bob almost at the ready, but so is that Blizzard. So this could end up being an explosive fight. Shatter comes out. He got booped up and underneath, and Deffect kills the Immortality Field just in a nick of time. Beautiful combo play coming out of the Onetrix here, and that's going to allow him to push around that first corner.
Yeah, that was actually beautiful to see, like the knock up on the Reinhardt into the shatter. Just shattered everyone behind you. Zoom, he's left alive, but what can he do when his entire team is left on their backs?
Very, very impressive stuff. And Deffect coming in with a pulse bomb just to clean up as well. Perfect timing on Untitled field kill as well. Zoom now gets aggressive. There's a nano boost in play here. Grant will find Zarian very early on. Zoom looking for opportunity to get the shatter. Another shatter from Marley. Finds a couple, but Zoom, he needs to get up to decent HP so he can pop the shatter and still do damage. Oh, everyone's dying here. Peach can't even find a target to keep on. Zulu Bell now under pressure on the point. Will buy a little bit of space and time for the team here, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough as Onetrix with 1.1 second left on the clock. They will get the cap.
Well, that is the tightest cap I think I have ever seen.
Perfectly calculated. Let's watch the timer here. Okay, that's all you need.
Yeah, so you make sure, okay, at least if they cap, we have another fight. Like that 0.1 seconds, that is tight. I think in the end, the Onetrix really starting to see them, they come into their own, you know, with their ult usage. Their team play as well, you see them playing around those anti-nades as well. Like a couple picks that they got off, you know, just the fact that Vertigo gets a nade in the background, Deffect puts a lot of pressure on that, and then even if not necessarily they don't die because, you know, there's immortality field, that means that the immortality field isn't there for Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant is saying in chat here, good round, everyone except Zwoom. So he knows who the who the target of mental warfare needs to be here. And I think he's absolutely right, because guys, remember that most of these teams are kind of hovering around an average SR of 2,800, and Zoom has an SR of like 4,300. So he's pretty good at this video game.
And I think he hit what, like top 50 on EU. It's quite crazy. You see him up amongst, you know, these Overwatch League level tanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's doing it at a consistent level. You know, this is not something where he made it and then dropped 500. So he's kept that for the past couple of weeks, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, extremely impressive stuff from him. But struggling to buy a victory here in the series so far. They are, of course, 1-0 up, so we've got that at least in the bag, and they've looked pretty good outside of sort of the end bit of EICHENWALDE there, where Onetrix found their rhythm, and he's going to open things up here with a kill onto O'Malley. Gets that pretty effectively. They will trade out Corpy, though unfortunately not able to get back behind cover here. Deffect on that Torbjorn, as you mentioned, as being quite a strong hero of his. Oh, burns to death. Does Lulu, but unfortunately not able to keep himself healed up. But a double kill on the front line here for the tanks. Both healers dead, and that's pretty much it, I think. Auntie is taken down, so now neither team with healers, in fact, as the end of it all, an explosive team fight. Onetrix stand tall.
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned earlier, that turret from Deffect putting in a lot of value. I mean, before that fight had really even broken out, Deffect was looking around 40% ult charge already, and you know, he's built up the toll belt, and it's such a good zoning ult for this point. It's going to be very difficult for Zwoomicorns really to push it, especially with this Doom Reaper comp.
Yeah, Doom Reaper's quite a lot of punching power, pun absolutely intended, as Grant pumps the damage in from long range. Molten Core comes out from Deffect. That's no meter Molten Core, but it might be enough to get the job done. Nope, he gets executed by Skarzz, but he's opened up so much space on the front line here. Marley moves forward. Lulubal says, please, taking to the Dark Void as Onetrix once again hold firm.
Yeah, and I really like to see Zwoomicorns maybe switch up the DPS. Yeah, I think the Doom Reaper really struggling against this, you know, more poke intensive of the Tor Bash. You're not really getting the value. We've seen the ult charge. You know, neither of them have the ult yet, whereas Deffect's really used his. Grant Hines coming very close to his, and it's going to be very difficult for him to find value here.
Might be. Have to wait and see. His wound now. Earthshatter at the ready. Amali nowhere near his, but I imagine he used it in the last team fight. Gravital Surge comes out. Anti-heal is on Zwoom, but the sound barrier, immortality field, going to keep the team healthy, but it's a big committal here from Zwoomicorns. Grant with Bob at the ready will throw it out right on the corner there. The shatter is big. A big old shatter from Amali there, but the follow-up not quite there. It seems like he got them most around the corner there, where his team couldn't quite follow up. Corpy with the strangest little doofus play I've ever seen there. Moving forward and then moving backwards. Now going to move on top of the Lucio. Won't be able to track him down as the Zarian does fall, but more than enough punching power. Again, pun intended, but I'm sorry, I only have the one pun. And they end up winning the team fight and getting the point.
Yeah, and there, you know, we actually saw the Doomfist managing to find their flank. I think getting a pick onto Deffect there, opening up the fight, and while yes, and Marley got a fat shatter, it just was very difficult for them to follow up on. And
yeah,
there wasn't the anti-nade coming from Vertigo because she had used that in the fight. Your Grandhind's not really in a position to follow up too well. Yes, you have the nano, but from there, you're pushing into a team that wants to be pushed in.
Ooh, Deffect needs to be careful popping his little head over the edge there like that. Doesn't end up paying for it in any significant way now as they push forward onto some nice positioning here under the cover as they drop down from the heavens. Onetrix, Amali does end up dropping here, but so does Skarzz. Immortality taken down. Lulubar gonna drop as well. The Zarin has his ultimate at the ready, but it's the Molten Core that might seal this one for Onetrix. Deffect once again exerting himself on proceedings, and this Torbjorn has been a game changer for them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's putting so much pressure. It's allowing, I think, Grandhind's a lot more space as well to work with.
Yeah.
Making that, the focus isn't just on Grant. There's a lot of focus on making sure that Deffect doesn't get value with his turret, with those pellets. And against something like a Doomfist and a Reaper, Torb is pretty handy in that close-up 1v1, so very difficult to actually get him down.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the positioning as well, difficult to get him down off the high ground. Not the world's best grab, but it might get the job done on Diablo there. That's one carry out of the game on the Ana as Zwoom taken down by Amali. Cool Jesse will pick up the kill, but the charge from Amali is really what set it up. And now they're going to force them back. And I said it onto Corpy will will get him dead. And Onetrix will do good in the team fight.
Yes. Ingle good.
I'm still waiting for this monster to hit the bloodstream voice.
Yeah, no, I think now like a swap up for Skarzz onto this McCree, gonna be able to put a bit more pressure on that Torb turret, on that Ash, and I definitely like this rotation more. And you get up towards and make sure that that Doomfist gets a lot more value than just kind of waiting for that Ash to get picks. But they actually go for a weird kind of rotation.
Yeah, that's a weird rotation is the way I would have put it as well, because I don't really understand it, but I guess they were trying to dodge that high ground positioning a little bit coming through the main choke. 360 shatter! Get out of here, Amali. Maintain difference. That's the kind of creative flex you don't see out of people who are new to Reinhardt. And Zoom putting up a little bit of a clinic there. Now they can push forward here. Skarzz dropping low, but the healing is there, so they've got that high ground positioning still on the... Oh, okay, yeah, that worked. Can they kill Grant here? They get on top of him, take him down, and that should be momentum pretty soundly gained here.
Yeah, they do need to be very careful that they're coming into this fight without Antiablo. He's still coming from spawn, but I think it's a fight that they can win. The grab is very scary, though.
Yeah, I don't know about that, TerranLord. The grab here might make it a little bit tough, especially when Auntie's not in the mix, as you say. And that was a very clean rebuttal from Onetrix.
Yeah, no, that forces Zwoomicorns in a position where it's it's fight or die now. You're coming to this last fight. You have to cap point. You only have that nano boost. Corpy does switch onto that May. I think much better pick than Doomfist, but going into a Shatter, Torbelt, and Bob is going to be very difficult.
Especially here. Oh my god, this is a meat grind if I've ever seen it. The ground is lava. There's a Reinhardt Shatter on the front line, but Amali does go down, so might be something to play for here. They did lose Auntie, so healing is super limited. He's going to switch on to the Moira to try and get back into the mix here ASAP as possible. Israel finds Skarzz with the help of the nano boost from Vertigo. The point is vacant, and the round ends, and Onetrix are going to even things up here, and they looked much better that time around with Deffect on the Torbjorn.
Definitely. That Torb, I mean, I mentioned it before, can get so much value because you don't really have that trust in the rest of your team that, okay, that Torb turret's going to go down, then everyone kind of like hums and haws about it. We look at this graph, basically sealed the fate.
Yeah.
It's like, they had a chance in that fight, but then the graph hits 5 people. You don't have an on that to keep you up in that. And it just meant that going into that last fight, they didn't have anything to really counter, all the ults that we saw from Onetrix.
Yeah, and they kind of had to pick the best of bad options there, going through that sort of tight choke into the Molten Core, the Earth Shatter, and then having nobody who could get to point. And again, Auntie was the first one who died in that last fight, so at that point it's super difficult to find value out of there. I think Corpy on the Doomfist didn't find as much value, I think, as he might have been hoping for. The May seems like a much more comfortable pick for him. Maybe comfort isn't the right word, but more effective at least. So hopefully we see more of that May pick coming out of him.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Doomfist definitely a hero that you can get value out of, but something that's very reliant on setup and on attack. Eichenwalde, it's not your strongest pick because you don't really have those high grounds to set up. You don't have as much angles to punch from, as well as you're going into a torp turret. Every time you punch in, even if you get bubbles, you're gonna get chunked down by that turret. And now a Doomfist that you expect to be at that 300 HP with shields is only 210, and it makes it a lot easier to kill, especially for something like an Ashe, where a Ashe headshot then basically gets him one shot by anything, including a melee. So I think in that kind of situation, against that Torbjorn Ashe, it may definitely would have helped a lot more, that zoning potential. Whereas like the Doomfist, if you may be running into something more broadly, like a Maycree of their own, will be a bit easier to get the value out of. Not as much poke, there's no turret to deal with, and you can kind of hard engage onto that. Whereas with the way Onetrix were playing a lot of the time, they engaged but made sure that their DPS had control of those angles. Yeah.
And they use the high ground very effectively on second point as well. That's really been a key of Eichenwalde for the longest time, is it's controlling that second point high ground. And you see the difference it makes when you can stand there, even if the point is on the bridge. Getting to the bridge is nearly impossible without taking losses on the way through. So good work from them. But our next map here will be Route 66, another Torb-centric map. So wouldn't be surprised to see Deffect reprise his role on the Swedish engineer. Otherwise, though, if you're on Diablo and Zwoom and the boys, what do you think needs to be changed here?
I think like more emphasis just needs to be put around you're playing DPS that aren't going to play into this like Ashe talk. Like rather like try and maybe match that with your own kind of like a Hanzo, maybe get a Farah and Echo, something that can deal with that Torp turret as well as that Ashe. Because I mean, something which we saw in the first map, Grunheinz, while under pressure, not really having the space, wasn't really getting as much value as he would like. Whereas on Eichenwalde defense especially, he had free reign a lot of that time because there wasn't really much to pressure him. Once Skarzz had switched over to the McCree, there was a bit more pressure, but by that point, it had already, like, the damage had already been done. Like there wasn't really much time for Zwoomicorns to really do anything.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying here. Looking at the compositions though, Corpy instead going to go for the Torbjorn. He saw what Deffect could do and wants to try his hand at it. Although on defense here, it's a fairly stable pick. It's one of the more common Torb points.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Torbjorn, there's a lot of areas that you can put the turret. Obviously, attack, it's going to be a bit harder because you don't have that setup, but definitely something he can maybe look to switch you if the Tracer struggles to get value.
Yeah, exactly. Deffect on the Tracer might see that Torb and switch things up here. Pause comes out. I saw everyone sort of standing around for a while. Mini piece coming out.
Yeah.
Not sure. Yeah, Miley says is watching Zwoom tactical crouch trying to pause, because pausing in Overwatch is like a 9-button combination that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, Rails dropped out here. In Dota 2, it's you press F9 and the game pauses. I don't know why Overwatch decided you need to use one of your ability buttons and crouch, and then what equals. It's so random.
Yeah, and what gets me is like a lot of keyboards have the pause button on it. Like, why not just make it that? It's
so true.
It boggles my mind. Like, and the irritating part is sometimes like because I've set it to the pause button and it doesn't work. It's the strangest thing. Like sometimes the pause button just bugs out.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, some of that comes down to like lobby leader switching, where the lobby just falls apart. Like you used to not be able to change the names of teams if the lobby leader had changed. So only the initial lobby leader had the right to do that, apparently. And, Overwatch, Blizzard is Activision Blizzard is a small indie company, as they say, and they have more artists than developers. But the game's pretty good. Can't say Overwatch hasn't been good to me. So we say everything we say because we love the game, not because we hate it. Okay, yeah, looks like we're gonna have a lobby restart here. Unfortunately, I think makes a lot of sense since we haven't really seen anything come under play here.
Yeah,
as Rail rejoins.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's good on both teams to go for the reset here. Obviously, it's not going to be that big of a deal. We see Rail on the attack, so he would have respawned there, but very close.
Yeah, true.
But it just, because there was that little bit of pause, people standing around waiting for Zoom to really get the pause button working. It just makes sense to remake the map and go again, same comps.
As long as the teams agree to it, for sure. Because there's something to be said for, those are fairly stable comps, but like, do you now respond to what they had, or do you change what you were running? Probably not, but you can now come up with a plan on how to deal with it. And for instance, Deffect on that tracer has seen a taupe died, and he asks himself, do I want to try make this work, or just switch on to something else? Yeah,
no, definitely. And it's the glory of ZA Overwatch, having disconnects at random times because of a variety of reasons. It's never just one thing. So it's something that we all are kind of accustomed to at this point. Just sitting around waiting for players to rejoin. And I think something which is quite nice with the scrim code that's going around now is that once the player rejoins, as long as they pick the same hero, you spawn in the same spot, as well as the ult charge. And even if it's like someone different, like
as long as the hero comes in. Yeah,
I had that experience of coming into full for a scrim and then being in my own spawn and all of a sudden being on point and being very confused. But
that's actually quite cool.
It works really well, and I think it's something which I hope we can get involved in the actual matches. Unfortunately, the scrim code isn't exactly ideal for match setting.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there that wouldn't work for matches. But I feel like there's scope to make match codes that are better than just the plain old, vanilla Overwatch. But not dealing with any of those now. Although I do feel like for custom games especially, they should have it where if you come back, like you say, on the same hero, you should just teleport. If the workshop can do it, I'm pretty sure Blizzard can figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. But I think might be something we're looking at Overwatch 2, if that's going to happen. And who knows when Overwatch 2 is coming. But that's a completely different topic.
Yeah, well, I'm salty about Overwatch 2 because it's not off tanks. So rip me and all my flex tank brethren, but not that I'm like playing a ton of Overwatch these days, but you always hold on to hope that when Overwatch 2 comes out, you'll be like, yes, I'm playing Overwatch again. But we have to wait and see. So far, fairly even matchup for those of you just joining. Obviously, as you can see, the scorelines, Zwoomicorns won, Onetrix also with 1. Zwoomicorns took the first map, LIJIANG Tower, a slow start, but once they found their rhythm, it was pretty dominant with a 2-0 victory there. And then on EICHENWALDE, I think really came down to a strong defense from Onetrix and a few critical teamfight victories on their attack. Is really what pushed them through to that 0.1 of a second time bank victory. Just waiting on Rail to rejoin here. There he's back in the lobby, so we'll hop back into Route 66 in just a moment here. So far, Terran, who's been your standout player?
I think I probably have to go with Swoop, but I've got to give a big shout out to Amali.
Yeah.
Like he's really kept up with Zoom and enabled his team in a lot of different ways. We talk about how much space Zoom was creating. Amali's done the exact same for his DPS. That not even just the shadows have been huge, but his positioning as well. He's not just getting completely rolled over by Zoom, which I think for almost any main tank in the country right now is very impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Although we've yet to see Zwoom come up against the Tocs main tank. We know he struggles against the Tocs DPS. So I'm not sure how he could stand up to the might of the Tocs main tank. But who knows? Maybe we'll get to see that later on. I think they're in different groups, so we'll see that in the group stage. But yeah, for me, actually, a standout's been Rail.
Yeah.
I think he's looked super good on the Zarya. He's found a lot of value, a lot of kills in a lot of places, and there's Orion on the other side as well. No slouch either.
Yeah, no, the both off tanks have done a really good job of supporting their main tanks. I mean, you don't get very far as a Reinhardt without that Zarya bubble at the perfect time. And there's obviously the Gravs. I mean, there's been maybe one Grav in memory where you thought maybe it was a bit questionable, but others have been, fight winning, or at least maybe not have won the fight, but at least put their team in a position where it is a winnable fight.
Yeah, definitely. So we are, as we can see here, back on Route 66 as we wait for the teams to decide on exactly which heroes they would like to roll out with here. Obviously, looking at the defense first, the Zwoomicorns on the defense. Oh, they agree to the same heroes. Okay, so thinking about what we're seeing here, are those the same heroes? They don't look like the same heroes, because there's no Torbjorn here, and there was the first time. So, okay, well, what do you think of the Hanzo then instead of the Torbjorn?
I think like Hanzo overall, in terms of like the pick potential and damage, is a lot better in this comp, but considering there's a tracer on the side of Onetrix, maybe the Torb works up at the same time. Those logs on a tracer's head sometimes can be quite destructive, and if we see Corpy get those picks onto the Deffect, not allow him to really put pressure on the backline, then it's going to be very difficult for Grant Hines to put in a lot of damage against a Hanzo and Reaper.
No, absolutely gonna be tough here. So teams come through, not opting for the aggressive defense here on the side of Zwoomicorn. Instead, just going to take up the more standard position around the corner. Zoom's like, okay, don't worry about the tracer, boys. I got that one sorted. Fire Strike will execute Deffect in a matter of seconds. As now they can look to get a little bit aggressive here and just try and press their advantage a tiny bit. Just going to force back Amali for now.
Yeah, and I think something that's very interesting is seeing the Zarian on the D.Va here. Maybe you look at the Zarya, look at combo grab dragons, but that's obviously a choice that they maybe want the D.Va for a bit more pressure.
Yeah, it could be, and controlling the high grounds a bit better as well, potentially. As Skarzz takes a bit of damage here, but Rail gets booped off the map. I'm not quite sure how he managed that, or how the Zarian managed to catch him in such a compromising position, but he did manage to do that, and it's going to force Onetrix back. Once again, a slow start to this map so far, but Ultimate's already at the ready for a couple of players, both main tanks and both flex DPS.
Yeah, no, something that's very interesting, obviously, it's the double flex support setup coming out of Zwoomicorns. A lot of healing, a lot of sustain, going to be difficult to punch through if you're the tracer, but at the end of the day, it looks like Onetrix come out on top.
Yeah, the Rhine, the 5-strike window combo didn't quite work out there. Self-destruct over the top. They will get Amali. Maybe they can fight this back. Squish, says the Zarian there on Amali, but Zoom left out in the lurch here. I think he has no healers alive, which makes his life very difficult, as Grant Hines makes short work of the baby D.Va there. But a kind of grindy team fight, but really that Amali with the nano boost opened things up for Onetrix there.
Yeah, it's something we've seen throughout. Just the nano into Mali goes aggressive. Maybe he has the shadow, maybe he doesn't, and it's been a really good play. Something you don't see the honor as much, so it's interesting to see how the Vertigo is playing around with this honor.
Baptiste is much more popular at the moment, as see the nano boost coming out, I believe. Amali dropping low, taken down straight away by that nano boost in Swoon. Now he can get aggressive, look to clean things up on the front heel line. He is anti-healed up, and that's the difficulty of not running this area. That cannot be purged, as Grant Hines has to beat a hasty retreat. So trying to get out, the healing is there, so he will make it back to base, but that's still a team fight victory for the Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, and some of this is very interesting. Zwoomicorns, without that Lucio, is going to struggle to really engage in the fights, but as long as they're in fights where they're engaging onto them, it's that extra bit of healing onto Zwoom and the D.Va can make it very difficult for him, for something like a Tracer to punch through.
Yeah, Deffect's been a nuisance in the backline here. Amali pops his ultimate, doesn't seem to find anything, but Deffect will pick up Skarzz in the backline after Corpy drops in the front line, and that Graviton Surge once again coming in the clutch here for Onetrix. Rail picks up a double here and helps his team secure the first point in all likelihood.
Yeah, no, a very expensive team fight overall. I mean, look at Pulse Bomb, Bob, Grav. Not the ideal, but at the same time, securing that first point is more important than you're maybe getting staggered there, losing another fight, and then coming to final fight and just losing so much time.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 minutes now to push through first or second and third point. Shadow on the front line finds a couple, but no follow-up, at least not at this stage. Amali with the nano boost on that Dragon Strike, I think did so much damage, but not finding any picks here. And Deffect being such a difficulty in the back line. He's forcing Corpy to turn and deal with him every time. Corpy's just done so credit where it's due. He got that. That was a vacuum charge if I've ever seen one. The hitbox on this character's charge is insane sometimes. And he's gonna pick off on Diablo, I think or Vertigo, sorry, I think we'll feel a little bit hard done by.
Yeah, but it's not the worst. The team is kind of resetting, so dying there is Vertigo, you're not too upset.
Yeah, no, that is true, but dying at any point makes me angry, but maybe that's just me. Zwoom will get the kill onto Amali there. They will pick off the support in the backline there, but they've got the honor as well, so not as big a percentage of the healing. Zoom's like, sorry boys, I'm coming in here. He grabs another charge kill, will execute Vertigo once again, got Rail as well, wants to track down Grant, likely to get him here, so Zoom cleaning up for Zwoomicorns there, the namesake of the team, exerting the most force.
These charge kills are getting a bit out of hand, but I guess when there's no Reinhardt to counter them, why not?
Yeah, just go for it, man. He's trusting. He's got so much healing as well from the Baptiste and the Arnie. He feels comfortable getting super aggressive.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad play to kind of play around Zoom here, but Grab does come out.
Ooh, Shadow at the ready for both rounds. Grab not finding any value yet. Shadow doesn't find anything either. Now the nano boost onto his room. He's going to feel comfortable getting aggro here. He gets another pair of kills, but his team are dropping a little bit, so he needs to be careful. Will now track down the Zarya. Not likely to commit much further here as I say that. Oh, no. He's just going to, he's going to back out here. Good call, I think. You don't want to get caught out there.
Yeah, a very good fight there from Zwoomicorns. I mean, just the nano committed versus a shatter grab beat. Looking really good for Zwoomicorns in terms of the ult economy, and they're holding them so close that by this point, a couple one fights and it's still only going to be overtime.
Strange place to hold, actually. I've never seen a team try and hold here, but it's working for Zwoomicorns out now. Oh, Grant Hines, he picks off Lulu Bao after she pops down her ultimate here, but what a huge Dragon Strike right through the entire core of the Onetrix squad, and that's going to pretty much single-handedly clean up that team. Zoom did pop a celebratory Earth Shatter there, but not really needed.
Yeah, kind of like a really good play there from Zwoomicorns, forcing them into this kind of tight choke where they have to fight them, and just popping the Dragon Strike, getting so much value out of a single ultimate.
In now though, Onetrix, not really much in the outbank. Deffect pops the pulse bomb and hits pay dirt. Corpy is taken down. Now Grant finds the angle. He's taken down 2 already, so really exerting himself on this team fight, and that's gonna allow Onetrix to break the chokehold here and start to get the cart moving. But they've got a lot of work to do with not a lot of time. What is happening here? No,
I don't know.
Go to the point. They need you to. You need to be on the point. What are we doing? Now he will make his way back to the point. He's almost got his ultimate. He's putting here ready. Tries to get the vacuum kill, but that would have been disgusting if he'd actually gotten someone with that charge. Shadow comes through now. Past Swoon gets a couple down in the backline, and Amali will pick up a double kill on the front line. Yeah, ultimate Death Blossom in the backline, clearing point a little bit, but there's more than enough Onetrix players still alive here to hold on to this point. The only thing that could lose them this is the world's most horrible C9, and I think we should expect them not to do that. And yeah, they're going to keep the momentum going here, but still a bit of time to make up.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a bit of an awkward fight with Zoom and Auntie kind of getting caught. Well, I wouldn't say caught, kind of forcing themselves into the enemy spawn. But a lot of trust of it. This is a big grab, not really letting them touch payload, forcing them to kind of...
No, it looked good, but it didn't actually captain the point, and now they can come through. No grab ready, but okay, the kills are there. The nano boosted Swoon, though, a double kill in return. As long as they got a body on the point, they might be okay. What a fire strike! Oh my god, this dude GM or something. What's going on here? Now sets himself up on the point, but he's all by him alone. So is this dude bronze or something? That Earth Shadow was very ambitious.
Yeah, no, that was... Yeah, it was a nice grab to sort of, kind of force, Zwoomicorns to push into that fight, not in the ideal circumstances, and it allowed, a lot of damage to be brought in as they were coming down. And it's a bit chaotic at this point.
Yeah, it is. Zoom playing super aggressive at the moment. Really, I think feels like he needs to exert himself on proceedings if his team is going to pull through here. Skarzz, though, gets rid of Deffect, so that opens things up quite nicely here for the Zwoomicorns. Zoom takes a brief nap here, but once again, the monster hits the bloodstream and is up and at him as Zarian here, ready to go with the self-destruct, flies straight through, takes down a Marley, and that's going to force Onetrix to back up.
Yeah, no, definitely. And these Dragon Strikes so far from Corpi have been really good. And it's a really good point with Zoom. Like the amount of aggression that he's showing compared to EICHENWALDE, quite ridiculous to see. He's going into the enemy spawn. You're not really caring where Marley is at this point.
Yeah. All self-destruct at the ready here for the Zarian. Of course, it's not the self-destruct, it's the remake after that you have to be worried about. Those are in the backline here. Zoom sent to the team here. Sorry guys, I'm back. Kill Amali, and now we move forward. Earthshatter is pretty decent. I thought it would be bigger, but he does pick up 2 and executes them like an assassin. Maybe this dude should play Widowmaker instead, because he's sniping people with the fire strikes, and Corpi will snipe people with the tree trunks as he looks to clean things up on behalf of his team, and looking pretty good here. A nice counter charge will prevent them from touching point, but the Lucio does end up getting that touch. Sound barrier as well. Zoom drops, so I might have spoken to Zunia soon here as Corpi throws the fire strike in, tracks down a couple. Skarzz gets the kill with the coach gun onto Deffect, and it's still looking quite good for our blue squad Zwoomicorns. Just need to clean up the last few, and they do just that, and it's a first corner hold here on 3rd point.
Yeah, and that's a place where you're happy to hold it as Zwoomicorns here. It's pretty easy to push through if you have the time back, so we're going to need to look at them really pushing through 1st and 2nd point with a decent amount of time to set themselves up really well for that 3rd point. But Zoom has just turned it up a notch. Just like he said in his brain, I'm done with Amali challenging me. I want that MTD. Give me that.
And it kind of showed, I think, on this map where he was kind of like, you know what, I don't care. I'm just gonna play my own game, and the team will have to follow up.
I mean, it's somebody Auntie followed him to the spawn. The trust between it's pretty crazy. I think
Auntie's like, here's what works for us in OG. We just play together and we're
it's like, this time I might be on honor, but it works just the same.
Yeah, it's the same. It just means Zoom can do more,
Yeah. But yeah, you're going to see the Torbjorn is going to come for Deffect, so he's going to that trusty Torb.
He is, and it makes a lot of sense here on defense, but no Tracer on the other side. Instead, going to be the Widowmaker, and historically speaking, Widow quite good at dealing with the Torbjorn turret as if it's not protected by a shield, and often the Torb will sort of set it on the right-hand side there and forget it, and kind of sit with the team and create a crossfire. So we'll have to see here what Skarzz can get down. Double sniper, in fact, for the Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, again, like that kind of feast of famine DPS we're talking about. 2 DPS that are very good at dealing with that turret, but that's not their main goal that they're looking to. They want to be able to get this fixed. So killing that Torb turret, if the Hanzo and Widow aren't getting those headshots, getting those picks, and
okay, not quite sure how Grant managed to find the perfect pixel to take down Corpi there, but he'll take what he can get. Now gonna back out, and probably that's going to be that for the Zwoomicorns. I can't really get too aggressive now with Corpi down, but they're just going to keep moving the card forward. The Skarzz has switched now onto that McCree, looking to take down that turret, as we mentioned. Zoom on the high ground here, but that's going to be Amali's go time. The immortality field is down and out. He's got the Earthshatter, doesn't find anything, but Deffect will find Corpi once again. Ryan though fires back, no Lucio, no speed for Amali to move around, so that might make a difference and allows Woom to get aggressive here on the front line. But playing a little bit of a slower style now. Nanaroost, I think both Arnas come with that, and it's going to be Amali who strikes first here, but he is getting aggressed on heavily. The Molten Core, the Deffect coming in the clutch there. Woom cannot get aggressive onto Amali when the floor is a literal lava.
Yeah, no, Deffect really, like these Torbolts have been really good value, not necessarily getting the kills, but zoning off, allowing for Amali to really stabilize.
How is Amali not dead here? Drops solo, eventually he drops Zoom, pops the ultimate as well, doesn't find anything. I think hoping to secure the kill on Amali with that, but I'll take that kill and now start to push forward, and good discipline here from our pink team. They're just going to back up and try and lose a few players before Amali gets back.
Yeah, definitely. They two picks onto both the DPS. Just they try out Deffect, but this is relatively even trades, and with Amali coming back, a Graviton Surge can be very scary here.
And there it is, grab over the top, straight into point immortality field in play though, so can keep them healthy, but it drops and immediately Amali picks up a triple kill. So they seem to be playing very effectively around their tank line, and I think that's the difference maker in a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, now we're going to see Lulubal switching over to the Lucio. I think something that they've identified. Yes, we had the healing, but it's not really helping us too much if we can't get into those fights to begin with. We saw Zoom go very aggressive with Arlet on defense, but kind of was given the license to because he was in those positions, whereas now he needs that speed boost to be able to get up and close to Amali.
Strike comes through there, does a ton of damage now. Both tanks again, almost with their ultimates. That's a big high noon. The Graviton Surge pulls them back in. What a Hail Mary grab, but it pays off as Corpy tries to navigate himself up the sheer surface that is this brick wall, and eventually works his way over the top. Now spots out Grant Hines in the backline. Get out of here. Who's next? It's Deffect who decides he'd rather take his own life than give it away.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting combo. You're expecting that Grav Dragons to come up, but then Skarzz with a high noon, and as they're backing around the corner, the Grav comes out, pulls the tanks forward, and from there, it's easy pickings for Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, very, very nice play there. Heads up play from this Orion as well. Not everyone would go for that. Zoom, there's a bit of tech for you right now. Players who can charge across that gap. I knew that. That's not the first time I've ever seen that. As Zoom now sets up here on the high ground. He's got Corpy at his back, and this is a really nice place to throw a dragon through. If they try and come through here, we might see a lot of dead pink players.
Yeah, definitely. And there comes the Dragon Strike, and they have to back up from this. So cool. And both supports going out. I was going to say, maybe they can get out alive. They have a decent recontest, but losing those two means that the next recontest is going to be once this payload gets close to the end.
Yeah, man, that's rough, because the payload will now be right under this choke, and I don't think they should try and come out here again. I mean, look how much damage Amali's taken before he's even come through. Point is moving under that choke now. Zoom charges in with the nano boost. He's got a shatter as well. A brief nap from Amali and gets put on his back once again here. Zoom into the backline, dropping low. Grant will actually get that kill with the help of Lulubal, but the point is moving forward. Deffect did commit his ultimate on the point though, so the brief little patch of floor was lava for a moment there. Grant throws the bob in here, and they might be able to do this actually. Amali back now in the mix, and Rail beams down Lulubal, and somehow Onetrix have forced their way through.
Yeah, like it looked very dire there, like trying to get onto the point, coming through this McCree, this Hanzo, the Reinhardt, Zarya, but just the else, like really coming because Torbal was able to zone off a bit, and then the Bob just guaranteed that fight win.
Oh, Amali, nap time for the boys here. The charge comes through, sends him back into Narnia. He gets taken down by Skarzz, but the grab on the front line picks off a couple of their own players. So unfortunately for them, they're now playing at a disadvantage once again, but they do have that main tank. But Deffect in the backline there. Somebody deal with that flanking Torbjorn, because he's ripping your team apart. Skarzz discovers that firsthand as now moves to rejoin the rest of his team. Lame Deffect not using the hammer to get the kill, but anyway, we take what we can get, I suppose.
Yeah, honestly, I saw the Torbjorn running towards Ash, like surely the hammer comes up. But...
yeah, surely the hammer comes. You know how Deffect loves his memes as well, so have to get his name up in lights there as Zuma's rather come through on the low ground. Nice ultimate coming out. That is a kill. Yes, it will. No, it's not. I guess Soundbarrier keeps him alive as Deffect gets the kill onto Skarzz once again. The shatter comes through. Get out of here, Mr. GM. Amali's got something to say about that. Gets booped back. Zoom with another vacuum charge there. Vertigo, an innocent bystander, taken out by the car coming past. And unfortunately, it's not going to help Zwoomicorns win this team fight though. It's cool dressing. We're just going to watch him go back to spawn. Okay, no.
Yeah, and Skarzz going down now is kind of dangerous here. You're looking at them coming into this fight 5v6 versus quite a few ultimates, but Deffect is sleeping, won't be able to use his ult straight away.
Well, he's up now, not too much of a concern. This could be a big Torbjorn ultimate, and he's got such a nice angle here, shooting into the back of the tanks. Tracer, can you just leave me? Can you just go away, please? And Amali with a double kill on the front line. Molten Core, close your eyes and turn on the sprinkler. Just just molten core everywhere. Lava on the ground now as Grandhound set up nicely on the high ground, Bob on the low ground. So much damage here coming out of Onetrix, and that's going to allow him to hold firm here on the second point. Zwoomicorns will drop another map as Onetrix take a 2-1 lead.
And it just seemed that, that tempo that Zoom was able to set, on that defense just wasn't there. Like they really struggled to get the tempo done. I think a lot of that is credit to Deffect as well, and that Torbjorn again putting in so much value, making it difficult for Zoom really to ever walk forward, and meant that Amali once again had that ability to create the space for his DPS. But it's close. It's very close.
It is close, but you got the sense as well that the geometry of that second point made it hard for Zoom to exert himself, because the way they were using the high grounds defensively on Onetrix meant he couldn't just run up barrel into them and kind of hit these massive shadows. He kind of had to slow down just a little bit, and I think that kind of blunted Zwoomicorns' edge just a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. And moving on to the next map, we're looking at Volskaya. There is also a bit of difficulty with the high ground. You can still go with the Reinhardt, but maybe we have to look at when they are running against this Torbjorn, a little bit of switch up, because so far their Brawl Mirror into this Torbjorn has struggled quite a lot.
Yeah, it kind of has, and the Torbjorn has just been a thorn in their side throughout the series, and kind of is a thing to look out for from Onetrix. If they're going to proceed in this tournament, have to figure out a way to deal with Deffect on the Torbjorn, and then obviously, as a consequence of that, deal with Grant on the DPS, who's now getting all that space. But Onetrix performing extremely well here. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. I think pretty much all of their players are contributing significantly to this, and it's making it hard for Zwoomicorns have to play to the level of Zwoom to actually beat them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this map, we're kind of looking at something very similar to what we saw in our last series, where quadruple E, my bad, had to kind of adapt on that fourth map, and maybe that's what we're going to see here, a bit of change up in terms of compositions. I don't really see them swapping onto that rush style comp. I don't think it's something that they want, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we will indeed. Now, we expect usually to see a more divey composition, so you can control those high grounds, but neither team have been running the Winston at all. I guess Zwoom and Amali not feeling comfortable on that hero, at least with these teams that they're on right now.
Yeah, definitely. And we speak about that trust factor so much. I mean, Zwoom and Auntie 100% got there. Lulabal to an extent as well, but not as much so as like Zoom and Auntie, who are playing each other since last year already.
Yeah.
And you've got these players who, in Zarai and in Corpi, who aren't really well known. Like, we don't really know where they come from and how much they really are used to playing in these kind of team environments. Whereas like Skarzz has that experience, but again, this is something where it's definitely above what he's used to. In general, you look at their legacy, a team that probably is looking at around an average of 2.3, 2.4, and now you're looking at teams that are around 2.8, and you're playing with a player who is comfortably, a lot of SR above you.
Almost double your SR, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an adjustment period, but that's the great thing about tournaments like Talent Cup and Pride Cup, is that they expose you to different experiences. A lot of these players, you get to play with more experienced players, but you also get to see some newer players who are learning the ropes as well. So a lot to learn from, if you're kind of a mid-level player, a lot to learn from the Pride Cup for sure. It just looks like we have a little bit of a moment here. Zwoomicorns need a second, but so far Onetrix have kind of found their rhythm here. Obviously they lost that first map, but defensively especially, they've looked pretty stellar on both EICHENWALDE and Route 66.
Yeah, definitely. And they really are playing around, how they want to play. They're not like Amali. Yes, he wants to be aggressive, but he's tempering that aggression really well. You're seeing the only times really he seems to be struggling is when Zoom just like hits that 100 key basically, and just like goes at him, and I don't think it's something Marley is maybe as used to, coming from her playing at the diamond-ish ranks versus Zwoom, who's playing at top 500. So it is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And 2CP, I think it will lend for Zwoom to play a bit more of that aggressive playstyle.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, we always have to give the disclaimer with main tanks. As much of being a good main tank is what your team is doing around you. So you can kind of look great or look bad based on what your team is doing as much as what you are actually doing on the main tank. So that might be part of why Amali struggles, is maybe his team's not quite on that level of dealing with the main tank like Zwoom barreling in. But Zwoom here is going to go for that monkey. So going to switch things up here, go for the double bubble, stick Skarzz on her Pharah and kind of split the composition completely, because matching that brawl, as you mentioned, hasn't seemed to be working for Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, and it's interesting for them to throw in Pharah here. I think against a team, like Onetrix, Ground Hines, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to put pressure on the Pharah, especially since we've seen Rel exclusively play that Zarya. So yes, we're not really sure how exactly he's going to fare in this kind of matchup.
Oh, there we go. Skarzz finds Deffect before he can really come through and do anything in this team fight. This room also picks up cool dressing, so now it's going to put the pressure on here. We might see a Marley drop as well as he rounds the corner here, but Zoom knows his limits. Discipline doesn't want to get too aggressive there.
Yeah, that's why we're really good. We're going to see him Deffect swap onto that McCree to try and put more pressure on Skarzz. Skarzz not getting infinite amount of value, but the initial pick opened that fight up for his Zwoomicorns. And once again,
there's another one. Skarzz finds cool dressing from the top here, now being put under pressure, but Corpy gonna release the pressure just a little bit by getting rid of one of those hit scans. I can zoom the space to get aggressive. Zarin will pick up a Mali. So far a pretty strong defense from Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, and this kind of Pharah Hanzo setup really well. Corpy on that off angle, bring a lot of pressure on, meaning that Skarzz isn't exactly pressured, even though there's a double hit scan. And Skarzz not really known for his Pharah, he's more of the hit scan player, but so far getting a lot of value with these open picks.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to deal with him, but his positioning is quite good as well. He's kind of always using that bridge at the top to cover the angle. Amari will find Corpy, but he's lost two teammates in the meanwhile as the Zarian tries to get that kill onto Vertigo. Eventually she will drop to Zwoom, and again looking very strong here for our blue squad, not committing any ults to win this for the most part. Only the nano boost comes out, but they're just going to clean them up one by one, and they have switched now onto the monkey to match. But Reinhardt is one game, Winston is a completely different ball game.
Definitely. I mean, Zwoom, you can see like the main tank understanding really coming, playing kind of here as well as he can, in terms of not overextending, playing those choke points, allowing his DPS to space, and then as soon as he gets pressured out, that's when he drops back.
Yeah, absolutely. Skarzz over the top here, just pumping in damage. Bubble goes down again, Vertigo drops. So these early picks are the bane of Onetrix existence now. Zoom's like, hey, Mr. Streamer, come here. Look at me, I'm on stream. Punches him into the corner and sends him back to spawn the quick way, and will now just extricate himself very effectively. And you can see there, very nice movement from the GM main tank.
Yeah, definitely. And you made a good point, like these opening picks are making it almost impossible for Onetrix to get a fight going. And it hasn't felt like they've taken a 6v6 fight, and they only have a minute left on the clock.
Indeed. Now though, Mali gets aggressive. They're going to force Corpy off the high ground here, but Zoom is still standing strong up there. That is 2 Graviton Surges. For those of you who are not sure, Skarzz will follow up on his own, and I believe Rails hit maybe plus minus absolutely nothing, so unfortunate for him. But Zoom dropping low here, he's gonna back up to his team, to his supports here. Where's his? Hey, Anna, come back here! No, she just left him, and now he's dead. And this might be difficult as Deffect, the Tracer taking out the Pharah. That is extremely normal, and you always see that, as now he can move in and start to clean things up. Ground Hines rejoining the fray here on this McCree, just barely missing some shots there on a re-aggressing player, but it is going to be that, and finally Onetrix get the breakthrough.
Yeah, and they were able to really take that 6v6 fight. You know, we saw Graviton Surges coming from both teams, and Skarzz getting quite a lot of value with the barrage follow-up, but from there, it just kind of felt like they lost a lot of their Zwoomicorns. Like, they had the picks, but kind of just sat around, waited, and let Onetrix get the picks.
Yeah, kind of did. Is Zoom now taking a nap? This is a nano boosted nap. This is a high energy nap. If you've never seen that before, as this area now gets down a Mali. Corpy gets one with the Dragon Strike, gets Deffect with the Tree Trunk, and that's going to spell the end of that team fight for Onetrix.
Yeah, and we're going to see Amali switching over to the Roadhog. Interesting choice. Hog Zarya, not the most renowned comp. Kind of
What is this? Because Rail's a pretty Roadhog, isn't he? That's like the hero that I think about when I think of Rail.
Yeah, that's very confusing. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is. Yeah, like I actually think the Hog Zarya in this situation against this high aggression might work out, but okay, they think something else might work. Zoom does go to sleep though.
Taking another nap here. I think he needs to slam a monster into his body here. But he is now woken up and he's pissed off. Not a morning guy. His room here. False alarm. He's a morning guy. Well, a bit narcoleptic perhaps as he works his way back to his team, but he bought his team quite a bit of time with that little play. As now Amali gets aggressive here. He's not the main tank anymore, so you need to play behind your Reinhardt, and he will proceed to do just that. The hook comes through, he gets the honor, he takes a brief nap, but it's not going to help keep Auntie alive. There's a lot of healing now missing for our blue squad. The res comes out, brings him back to even, and Zarin will pick up one with that self-destruct. So I think they've done enough here to hold this point. No ticks given away, only a minute 20 on the clock, so Onetrix might be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, and
squats.
Popping those squats. Yeah, gotta get them going. Yeah, doesn't have exactly the same booty as Widowmaker, but he's trying.
No, definitely not. I think Winston could do with a few squats.
Ooh, hook from Amali again. Doesn't get any value this time.
Yeah, doesn't find anything this time. Tanks now on the high ground. Where are their healers though? Trying to work their way up as well. Big anti onto, no, that's a pro. It's hard when the color is purple to see who is antied and who is not antied. Here as Wee drops down. Primal Rage at the ready once again, charging this up super quickly. We'll throw it down now, stunned up. Not gonna get taken. Oh my god, he got absolutely deleted. That's 1000 HP disappearing in the blink of an eye. A whole hog will do that to you. As now Amali gets aggressive, tries to find Corpy down, taking a nap here. Okay, don't leave me right now. Rail charges on through Shadow at the ready. Will he throw it onto the Pharah? You usually don't see Pharah drive to Earth Shadows, but anything is possible here at the Pride Cup as Room rejoins the fray. A big Shadow gets 3 down, but immediately Skarzz fires back, prevents the damage from coming through as Amali heals himself up here, taking another nap. This is what happens when you play Roadhog and you don't have a Reinhardt alive. You just sleep all the time. It's now Onetrix. They've got a lot of work to do here to clean things up. This is not a clean team fight, and you need a clean team fight here on second point of assault. Amali will heal himself up here, but he's under a ton of pressure. Skarzz eventually will get him down as Rail tries to get back onto the point. He will just barely get in there, but he's anti-healed up, taken down pretty much immediately. But he's bought a little bit of time for his team to come through. Zwoom has dropped now to Crew Dressings, Lucio, self-destruct in the backline, won't find anything. Defecto tries to get on top of Auntie's Anna. It's not going to be enough though. Corpy will take him down, and Zwoomicorns will hold firm here without giving away a tick.
Yeah, and a bit of an interesting choice seeing this Ryan Roadhog come out, especially, Rail, someone who we've seen that Roadhog, and Mali, I can't remember the last time I actually saw him play it before this, so interesting choice. I think the Hog Zarya would have been a better choice, trying to hard punish Zwoom on that Winston, because you just saw how much value he was getting. The Primal Rage is coming up, but I think big credit has got to go to both Vertigo and on Diablo with those sleeps.
Yeah, Zoom saying in chat there, Vertigo, sleep me one more time, I dare you. And I think we get where he's coming from with that one. I think Amali is also justified in expressing a similar sentiment. But we haven't really spoken much about the supports here. But which support line do you think has been the most impressive of the two?
It's really difficult to say. I think both of them have given a lot of value. I'd say Vertigo overall has outpaced anti-Diablo. I think that there's been more sleep darts, more there's effective anti-nades. There's been a lot of anti-nades, but if it's not really following up on them, they don't really matter. Yes, they build a bit of ult charge, but at the same time, it gives the enemy honor that ult charge.
Yes, absolutely. So, looking at compositions here, Corpy is on the Genji. I've never seen this hero before. I think he was added to the game only recently. So I'm excited to see what exactly his kit can do, as otherwise on Onetrix more of the same here. But they're running the Brigitte as though they knew the Genji was coming.
Yeah, the Brig gonna make that Genji's life hell. Potentially we see him get grabbed as well when he plays, but that's something we'll have to wait and see how that progresses.
Well, he's got the deflect, so he should be fine, right? That's how that works.
Yeah.
He's just gonna punch the damage in here over the top, but I mean, this is where you're like, I wish I had a Pharah or something else instead. They do have a Pharah actually. Skarzz has already locked that one in, so Lulubal has dropped though. That makes it very difficult for Skarzz to get value. Oh my god, Zwoom wishes he had jump right there so we get that kill, but Vertigo takes down Skarzz. They have lost Deffect though. The beam, 6 HP, 0 HP. Rail tracks him down here as Auntie tries to keep Zwoom healthy, but they've lost too many players here. Go to sleep, whoever that is. Anyways, here's Zwoom. Gonna try and get out of here, but I think you kind of want to reset if you're the blue team here, and he's gonna make his way back to Auntie.
Yeah, and it was actually Vertigo getting a taste of his own medicine there, getting slapped by Auntie. So, Auntie deciding to get a bit of payback for Zwoom.
Yeah, sort of avenging his main tank there just a little bit. But resetting now has both teams. Okay, boot off the high ground. I'm desperately trying not to sneeze here, which is making my brain not work properly. Auntie gets that pick onto Vertigo. The best way to stop the sleep from coming out is just to kill the opposing Ana. That's going to help Zwoomicorns hold onto this fight.
Yeah, and a good night, your second fight there coming from Zwoomicorns. The Nano, obviously Skarzz getting the boop onto Ground Hines early in that fight allowed him to take a lot more space, and then, you have a Nanoed Winston Tesla canning 4 people in a small room. I don't want to be there. If I'm
no, unless you Zwoom, exactly. Nobody really wants to be a part of that. Now coming forward, Primal Rage at the ready, grab, Dragon Strike almost ready to go. What? Dragon Blade, that's what that spell's called. I haven't seen that here in a while. Sleeping Zwoom, oh my god, he must be so pissed off, and he does take it down. But Nano boosted Reinhardt, who picks up the rest here. So a good couple of kills from Onetrix will secure them that point, but not the world's most expensive team fight for Zwoomicorns.
Yeah, I mean, a Primal versus a Bob, a Nano, a Shatter. I think you take that any day. Obviously, you're a bit scared now that the rally might be coming online. Same with that Grav. Once you have that Nano Blade, both ults that can kind of delay that Genji Blade really getting a lot of value. And you can see Zwoom taking a bit of poke damage, wanting to build up that Nano as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. A little bit out of phase here, Auntie and Corpy, but now they're going to kill the effect. They might just get aggressive here onto Grand Hines. They do just that. Can they find the kill? A good bubble keeps him alive for a moment longer than he otherwise might have been, and a charge comes through onto Corpy. So unless they can get the rest, they won't be able to land a boost here. Point dropping low. Eventually, somebody gets some point, taking a nap. He fell. His limp body fell into point and kept him in this one, but the Graviton Surge comboed here with the Pharah ultimate to pick off Deffect makes it pretty clear that they are in control of this one. Cool Dressing will drop. Just a little bit left to cap on this point. They only need the one tick. The Dragon Blade comes out here. Will pick off the Zarya. He works his way back to point. Now needs to clean up the rest. A lot of players alive though for our pink team here. So any kill will help them secure this one. But no, dropping low, sleeping Tracer. You don't see that very often. And Zwoomicorns sends us to another game 5.
Yeah, and bit of that adaptation. We see them coming running that dive. Zwoom kind of running the show a little bit with that Winston. Maybe not always getting those kills in the fight, but building those primals up so often, making it very difficult for Onetrix to really get those fights going. And we saw on first point, those constant picks meant that they just didn't have the time back that they needed going into second.
Yeah, I think that really was all about the first point, as you say. We saw Zwoomicorns do a much better job of capping that quickly, and they gave them so much time to work their way onto second point and figure out what to do. They didn't even need most of that time, but gave them options, whereas Onetrix were kind of backs against the wall for a lot of that. So once again, Terran, momentum flips completely on its head. Yeah, Zwoomicorns coming into this one now with the wind at their backs, so to speak, as we head into Busan. But oh, and it's actually an alarming mirror of the previous series where Zwoomicorns won the first control map and now are going into the last control map with a bit of a head of steam.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you definitely favor Zwoomicorns now. It's exactly the same as we saw with quadruple E, and this time even more favoring them. So obviously, Mecha Base comes out, you might be a bit worried. Obviously, you kind of lost a bit of that brawl mirror, but at the same time, Mecha Base does lend a bit for Zwoom to take those really aggressive trades that we've seen him take, and then your other two maps. You can probably look to play dive, get Zwoom onto the Winston again, and he seemed kind of unstoppable. Basically the only thing really stopping him from getting into the backline was Vertigo sleep darts.
Yeah, that's true. Although he gets into the backline just fine. It's just he's snapping when he hits the ground. But it is going to be Busan here, guys. Our last map, 2-2 in the series. It's been super back and forth. Zwoomicorns took map 1 on LIJIANG Tower very effectively, but Onetrix followed that up with a 1-2 punch on EICHENWALDE and Route 66. But as we just saw, Zwoomicorns took a pretty dominant victory on Assault, and they carry the momentum now into our final map. So very interesting things to see here. A very different color compared to the last series, despite of the alarming similarities. Of course, previous series we saw JRV really being a key there to that team's success, but here it's all about the tanks.
Yeah, the tank drills have been really great to see. Not just the main tanks, but the off tanks that we've spoken about throughout. I think Zorian there, on the Diva as well, getting a value as well. The Grabs still continue to get a lot of value in these team fights. And it's really impressive to see, because it's in those comps where it's more dive centric. You're not really expecting to get these big 4-man, 5-man grabs, but they're getting these 2-3-man grabs that are just turning these team fights.
Mm-hmm. And when they are brawling, they're getting the 3-4-man, 5-man grabs that you'd expect when the teams are playing as bunched up as they are. So really effective stuff from my two off tanks. I'm looking forward to see them playing Overwatch too. Anyways, looking at Busan, we will start here on downtown Widow's Playground, but neither team opting for much Widow today. Although wouldn't be surprised to see Groundhounds whip out the blue French lady.
Yeah, I think we might see a mirror. I think Skarzz might bring up as well. Something I've seen him play in scrims quite a fair bit. Sometimes to the detriment of the team, but maybe they might just look to go with it as Farah again. They just got so much value for them with Volskaya.
Yeah, Skarzz is really a thorn in the side of Onetrix there, but he doesn't have quite the same room to control the choke like he was doing on Volskaya. So we'll have to see if he can be effective on a more open map like this. But Corpy is going to go for the Hanzo again here. Deffect, no Widowmaker interesting from Grandheinz, nor the Ashe, so they feel like they need something more than what the Ashe was giving them.
Yeah, I think this is a map where you can get away with throwing the Ashe or Widowmaker. Kree is going to struggle a bit more, but considering there isn't that Ashe or Widowmaker on the side, he will have a bit more room to work with.
Yeah, he doesn't have to take a sort of ill-fated long-range duel against a long-range hit scan carry. Skarzz just gonna stand here on the high ground. Don't need the jetpack, I guess. Maybe you should give it back as he pumps the damage into the choke. I spoke about not having the choke, but they're kind of playing into his hands a little bit here. Deffect will get the kill onto the Zorion, but they trade out the Diva mix, so neither off-tank here contributing much. It must be Overwatch 2 already. Okay, it's an old joke. I'll stop saying it now. Deffect finds room on the main tank. And now they can move to point here. Yeah, that kind of opened things up very nicely for Zwoomicorns, for Onetrix, sorry, and allows them to get that first cap.
Yeah, I think it's like a nice adaptation that we've seen here from Onetrix. So they kind of forgotten that backline, gone for that Moira Lucio, playing that Reaper McCree, making Zoom's life incredibly difficult. There's not really anyone he can dive, and that Reaper McCree, he gets stunned up, he's basically dead.
Where did this anti-heal come from? Zoom pounces on it immediately. Already has the primal rage, but stand out. Perfect timing from Grandheinz. Going to prevent the Angry Monkey from flexing his muscles as Corpy, though, gets cool dressing eventually. So an even fight, but the Raze will bring Zoom back to the fray. And he has the primal rage at the ready immediately. Re-gets that kill onto Grandheinz, says, how dare you come at me like that, and now Deffect dropping low. Might get taken down. Yeah, the Zorion will get that kill onto him. Zoom, Angry Monkey sends a Miley into the drink here. Rail soon to follow. Cool dressing, not likely to spend much more time in this team fight as Zoom really comes in the clutch, but that was all Lulubal with the resurrection.
Yeah, no, that clutch from Lulubal, yeah, she went down for it, but it was worth it in the end. You saw Zoom go to town. He even hit the Mali off the map while Mali was primaling. So
oh my goodness. No Sombra in play, so I couldn't even hack him.
Yeah, Zwoom is really turning up the heat.
Absolutely is. Now with a nano boost at the ready, he's going to charge up another primal rage. The grab thrown in there gets a lot. The ultimate from Skarzz comes in as well, and that right there is a classic combo from 2016, you know, Overwatch release. That's the kind of stuff we were pulling off.
Yeah, no, it's the OG combo. I think one of my favorite combos is a Pharah player because it guarantees, you know, because usually your barrage is the I press my Q to die button.
Exactly.
But at least with a grab at the, you know, at helping you get at least 3 or 4 picks before you die.
Nazar usually holds the bubble for you as well, so you feel pretty comfortable throwing it down there, or pressure onto cool dressing, isolated out here, and now 2 on the left, 2 on the right. Difficult push here for Onetrix. That was basically straight into the wall. Doesn't need it, I guess. All they need is room, but the Death Blossom comes through, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. I wonder if we won't see Deffect switch things up here as he tries to shift his way out. He will get out. No, Zoom tracks him down, punches him right in the butt, and will end Deffect's push here. Amali will drop as well, and Onetrix struggling here.
Yeah, they're really struggling to get through these choke points. You know, we spoke about how the Pharah might struggle to control these choke points, but they're kind of forcing themselves into these smaller rooms where Skarz's Pharah is getting so much value. 60% on another barrage and making it incredibly difficult.
Is super difficult. Amali has primal though. That might be what they need to open things up. He's dropping so low, taking so much damage. Danaboost comes down, I think, onto... No, it is onto Amali. He has to prop the primal here to stay alive in his summation at least. And now the coalescence from Vertigo. She's like, don't worry, I'll deal with the Pharah. No, I changed my mind, I guess. And now she needs to keep her team alive as they are dropping like flies. But it's an even team fight here. Both teams losing players left, right, and center. But Zoom, he gets taken down, and that might open the door for Onetrix to win this team fight. Rail has his ultimate, but between Amali and he, they will clean things up pretty effectively.
Much better team fight. We saw them, you know, yes, they got stuck a little bit in the choke. They lost one early, but it still allowed them to get through onto point, make sure that the Pharah wasn't getting as much value. And they picked off Zoom before he could get that primal rage off, so not ideal in terms of ultimates, but definitely a winnable fight.
Oh, Zoom immediately comes and gets taken down again. Primal Rage at the ready. I don't think Lulu Ball's going to be able to get in here for Resurrection, as I think they're just going to back out instead.
Yeah, and the Grandhunds does go down, so maybe there's a small window where Zoom comes back and they're able to take a small 6v5 fight, but with Spawn's more or less the same, Grandhund should be up on his perch very soon. Yeah,
should be indeed here. You see them in the distance, but they get the effect as an opening pick here. No mercy on their team. So Onetrix now man down. They get the trade onto Corpy. Rez might be forthcoming though. If Lulubal can find the space. Onto drops though. Amali tracks him down and gets the kill. That's huge. Rail now onto Lulubal, so they might have just done this here. Return the favor. The Graviton Surge not finding the most value, but the Zarian will pick a couple of kills up here as Corpy gets a kill with the Dragon Strike. Now Skarzz dropping low, taken down. Deffect back in the mix here and exerting himself very expertly, but does he have enough? Does he have enough teammates? I think he does here as Corpy, or the Zarian drops. Corpy drops as well. This is looking pretty bad for our blue squad, but Zoom's back in the mix on the ball, but he's not likely to get many kills. He gets cool dressing out, and can he buy time for the rest of his team to come in? A great pulse bomb from Deffect onto the ball, cuts his stall short and secures Onetrix the point.
This very back and forth so far, and you know, we've been speaking about the entire time how much value these Garrett and Surges have got, and there, you know, it got one player, and you know, you're following that up with a barrage as the combo. The person was already dead before the barrage come through. You know, Skarzz is put very low. There's no mercy to heal them up, and Deffect eventually gets them down. And I think Deffect, you know, losing a Tracer early in the fight, out of all the heroes, is probably the most ideal. Yes, you want to have her in the team fight, but at least if it comes down to these very scrappy fights where, you know, it's trades back and forth, she's going to be back very fast, and she excels in these kind of like 3v2, 2v3 situations. Yeah,
absolutely she does. As long as she doesn't catch a tree trunk in the head, she's pretty comfortable zipping around the team fight and pumping in damage. And very aggressive play here from our blue squad. Look how far forward they are already, right on top of the team, using this Junkrat perfectly now to pump the damage in. over the top. Oh no, it's the other, yeah, no, it's Corpy on the Junkrat, but he gets taken down, drops first. Zoom dropping a little bit low here, a huge anti-heal. Was that a pro heal? No, that's an anti-heal, as Amali can now get aggressive and clean things up. Zoom with the charge once again. He knows exactly how to secure kills with that ability, but it's not going to be enough to help his team cap this first point. Onetrix, instead of going for the point here, okay, they are going to get the point, and they are going to take position up here on that front choke.
Yeah, I mean, getting cold dressing there does mean that the point capture is a bit delayed and Lucio's genuinely the one sent back, but we're going to see a re-engage straight away.
Oh, very quick, brief nap time there for Deffect. Gets up very quickly, the lob, work him up, the shadow, not going to find much now. Another massive anti-heal from Vertigo allows Marley with the nano boost to get aggressive. Going to die to the jump? No, but he took a lot of damage, and Zwoom was in the backline. Zwoom picks up a triple elsewhere on the map. What is happening here? He's going to get set up on point, and it's going to be a quick flip. So after an incredible start for Onetrix, it all just kind of falls apart.
Yeah, and they kind of lost their positional advantage, managing to maintain the choke. You know, Zoom was able to get there before Onetrix could take control, and he just went into the backline with that nano, with that shadow, made it very difficult for Vertigo to really help Amali in that kind of situation.
Yeah, really, really awkward. And Vertigo started with such a nice nano boost and anti-heal. Fire Strike was just thrown out, so this might get a lot of value. Oh, hello, that's a double kill. 2 heroes now out of the fight. 4 heroes if you count the 2 died first. Room gonna try and pick up Deffect, but he'll get out in just a nick of time.
Yeah, and very clean fight. Tyre committed. That's all there was needed. I mean, I think ultimately Tyre was probably not necessary, but he used that before. This is a very interesting rotation coming out of his room.
Yeah, what? Where even are we on the map? Okay, yeah, I thought that was their spawn, but look, they've lost the point, so did it work out for them? He's anti-healed up, both Reinhardts in fact anti-healed up, but one has his Wario Bubble to back him up. The Shadow comes out, gets one in the backline there, is going to aggress onto Vertigo, won't get that kill just yet, gets it eventually as the grab comes out, charge through, gets another, so somehow they're turning this fight around. It looked pretty dire to start off with, but they managed to bring things back. 3 players left on the point here, 2, sorry, for both teams. Bob going to be the 3rd man. Grant's like, get out of here. I don't want to touch you. Social distancing at its finest as well. Beams down a couple of players here and secures another team fight victory for Onetrix.
Yeah, this is a very interesting rotation. I mean, something we saw kind of like on EICHENWALDE, but that one at EICHENWALDE is much more effective. And you're giving up point for free and still losing the fight. It's not the best.
Yeah. That, I mean, it would have been incredible if it worked out, but it kind of just ends up looking a little bit silly as you sort of have to barrel in to try and keep the point in your control. It doesn't even end up working. Now they come though, Deffect has a Death Blossom into the Graviton Surge. Don't mind if I do. He dies to the martyrdom. What am I watching? And that's going to allow Zoom the opportunity to get some value here. A big shatter as well. The main tank difference coming out, but the main support difference coming out from Vertigo puts the big bad Reinhardt to sleep. 90% now on the clock for Onetrix. It's pretty tough for Zwoomicorns to find a way back into this one. 5%. Can they even get the touch here?
I don't think they can. Maybe the Lucio still seconds for a bit does get the touch on point, so very winnable if they get the Reaper ult on point.
Skarzz will have to come in with that, try and find the value, but they're quite split up at the moment. Here he comes, Skarzz waddling on in here. Death Blossom at the ready. Corpy has found a kill. Skarzz might not even need a third down. He does though. Comes up and says, nope, sorry, this is my team. The gods favoring Onetrix here, unfortunately, but Zwoomicorns have managed to do it. They've gotten the kills they need to, and now they're forcing Onetrix back towards their spawn, and they will flip it. 50% up, but they're in a tough spot now.
Yeah, no, being on a very awkward comp here with the Bull Diva and Mecha base is going to be very tough. You also got the Trace now to get back. Diva isn't in mech, so they are momentarily down the player, and there's no remech to get those kills. So we're going to have to see big mines from Zoom.
Yeah, that's going to be key here. Charge it super quickly. Going to power down in now. Mines come out as well. A double immediately. That's exactly what they need. An inexpensive team fight. Only the one out committed, and allows them to build up a little bit more going for the next fight.
Yeah, now you got both support ultimates coming against the Grav. Bob potentially shattered. Deffect does swap onto that Tracer probably to get the touch, but I think they should be fine with that.
Yeah, they should be okay. There's not a lot of controls. Goes straight through. Deffect will not be getting the touch here. He'll only be touching his feet on the floor of the spawn, but they're losing so many players. Bob comes in the clutcher. Grant managing to pick up a double with that ability. Zwoom is back in the mix here now. Vertigo is taken down. The Coalescence looking to get rid of this loser. If they can do that, they might feel comfortable being able to win this team fight. The charge onto Zwoom after the shadow will get rid of the ball, and that might spell doom here for our blue squad. Lulubell goes down. Corpy with another kill. The Graviton Surge doesn't find anything. A Hail Mary tire on the point won't be enough, and Onetrix will take the 3-2 victory.
And I think you're kind of going against what we expect. After Volskaya, dominant performance from Zwoomicorns, they just come back and say, screw it, doesn't matter. That map didn't exist. And
that map didn't exist. And it's funny because they also were coming in with the advantage of winning the first control map.
Yeah.
So, on paper, should have been pretty strong for them, but you don't play the game on paper, as I've learned many times.
Yeah, I think that's one thing everyone learns. So you think, okay, well, this is nice and simple for them. They've got the advantage. They've done this before, and then a rabbit comes out of their hat, and it's like, okay, well, guess I go next.
Yeah, guess we go next. And unfortunately for Zwoomicorns, there's not many nexts. Wow, that's a cool sentence. Let's start again. Not many nexts left to go. I didn't even try it. Anyways, that is their second game. They've lost both now, so it's a tough position for them. Onetrix takes them to a 1-1 standing, and they've got games in the 2 games as well left to play, I think. So yeah, we'll take a look at the groups here before we sign off for this match. I'm gonna just get a sense of where we are. Rainbow Renegades still at the tippy top of the table. Babs to see now in second place. Valkyries in third, and Onetrix and Zwoomicorns we can see now have swapped places. Onetrix in fourth place, and Zwoomicorns, shockingly enough, in fifth place. Remember, fifth place is eliminated from the tournament, so that could end up being critical. Group B though, 4E, who we just saw, have now worked their way to the top of the table. H in second, Swiss a Spun in third, and 5 Roses Roybos in fourth. And in that elimination spot is Crazy Milky Jelly Shakes, unfortunately for them. So yeah, Group B is kind of taking shape now. It was super even, 4 teams on 1 point, but now team 1 and 2 on 2 points each. So things are kind of taking shape here as we end round 3 of the group stage of the Pride Cup. But coming back to this matchup, congratulations to Onetrix. You take a very well-deserved victory. Grant Hines and the boys should be proud of that one. So, Terran, who is your player of the match here?
I think for me, there's 3 candidates. It's Amali, Rail, and Vertigo. And I feel like I have to give it to Rail. I think you're coming into this as someone who you're not really expecting to carry the team on his back with some of these team fights. He did that. Those Graviton Surges were incredible. And I think it helped Amali and Vertigo both getting a lot of value from their anti-nades, obviously Reinhardt swinging into those Gravs. And the bubbles themselves also enabled Amali so well. Yeah,
absolutely. I think standout performer for me as well, for sure. As you say though, Vertigo and Amali. I mean, we spent a lot of time focused on Amali, and he delivered, in the face of some very strong competition. On the other side, I mean, it's all the Zwoom show there. We kind of built the story around him, and he really did show up, but didn't quite have enough in the bag today to take this one over Onetrix. So guys, that is going to be that. We've got 2 more games coming up today, starting at 6:30, 5:30. So in about half an hour will be our next series. So see you guys tune in for that. It will be Crazy Milky Jelly Shakes taking on H. So H, I think, tied top of Group B, and Crazy Milky Jelly Shakes at the bottom of Group B. So they'll really be needing to take the victory there. A lot on the line for Crazy Milky Jelly Shakes, as it turns out. And then we'll be back again at 8 following that. So yeah, 5:30 guys. We'll see you in just a moment.